Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Out of the Spiritual Closet with Dawn and Spirit and Angels. And today I'm being joined by a wonderful guest, Zen Benefiel. And I'm sure I kill his name because I kill everybody's names, but welcome, Zen.
Oh, thanks, Dawn. And yeah, you were spot on with the name. It's funny, south of the border, it's Benefiel. Um,
Put a little spin on it.
yeah, and it's a wonderful surname to have been given. I was adopted early, and it actually means good fidelity.
Ooh, I love that. So, just to tell a little bit about Zen, he is a seasoned professional with a diverse background in education, leadership, project management, and transformational coaching, as well as being an accomplished author with over 24 works on Amazon, the host of a podcast, One World in a New World. Wow. Make my tongue twist there. One world in a new world. Say it loud and proud. It has nearly 1 million views. So we are honored to have him here on our little channel today. On his podcast, he explores the depths of human potential and the future of our planet with different experts from various fields. And his unique insights and engaging conversations aim to inspire listeners to think critically and embrace change for a better world. And hallelujah, that's why he's here. We are on the same mission to help the world, to share some of our experiences, our insights, so that you don't have to struggle like we have. We have just spent about 15-20 minutes on our pre-conversation, and we had to start recording because we had so many stories between the two of us. We would have been 2 hours in and I would have never hit the record. So I just want to take a moment here to welcome you, Zen. Thank you so much for spending your time with me this morning.
Oh, it's an honor to be here, Dawn, and what a wonderful way to share space and time together as we're tethered in consciousness across space and time, and according to Nepe and Close's theory of everything model, over a 9-dimension realm, which is our human bandwidth for experience. We can
Love it.
unpack that if you'd like, but that just blew the lid off of everything, didn't it?
Yeah, I was just sending that energy to all those places right here and now. So everybody can feel the joy and the fun that we're about to have here. So we've got a lot to talk about. In Ben's current life, he is a transformational coach besides a podcast host. And he has a big mission he's working on now. And I think we'll just start right there. We started out talking about his mission, which is harmony with people on the planet. And this is all being done in the container of planetary citizens. Is that where we're going?
Correct.
Right.
.net.
.net. Very good. Please put that out there. There was a time when we didn't have to differentiate.
Yeah, I know.
Tell me a little bit about that project and the inspiration behind it.
Well, let me give you, I'd love to. And
Okay.
thanks for the opportunity. It's kind of a long story. I'll truncate it and make it as impactful and inspirational as possible. Being orphaned and adopted at birth, I had an interesting experience when I was told I was adopted, and first developed my question basically was, do I have a father and mother in heaven? Can I talk to them? Turns out I could. And with that voice and that communication network, it was a challenge to be in the functionality of the real world, although I ended up being an excellent, academician and athlete through school and high school, and ran a 4.3 in high school. So I was pretty quick to mind and body. Then I went into college, and I was in a pre-med program at Ball State University, and coming back from quarter break, I was distraught. I realized that this is not the road that's really for me, and I didn't know what it was. So I hit my knees. I didn't hit them. I knelt in prayer,
Yeah.
and I said, Father, I want to know what truth is, and I'm willing to die for it if necessary. Not realizing the implications of that. The following week on 11/11/75, I came back from class, did the obligatory bong hit and album side meditation. And during that, this voice that I've been familiar with since a child asked me by name if I was willing to die for what I believe in. Well, that would cause, a lot of butt.
Panic. Yeah, panic.
Right. So after I clenched and thought, okay, Christ consciousness, felt a little empty. Wasn't sure why at the time. I understand now. And then I went on to cosmic consciousness. It felt full, so I said yes. And within moments, I was out of body, look at my body laying across my dorm room bed, turned back to look where I was going, immediately engulfed by white light. Had this effervescent, iridescent, high-pitched sensation that was just glorious. And then I realized I was thinking because I was analyzing it. So if I'm thinking, I couldn't be dead. And as a teenager, it's like, woohoo, right?
Right.
Wow, is there more? Was my next question. Just, kind of being with that moment and curious. I felt a movement. I'm in an indigo background with points of light surrounding me. I knew the points of light were points of consciousness, whether in body or not. I wasn't sure because I knew I wasn't. I felt they were somehow. And then the voice picks back up and says, these are those that you were to work with in order to facilitate a new world order. It will happen in your lifetime. Know this to be true. Your path will be full of trials and tribulations. Have faith and trust that everything you need will be there at its appointed time. Trust and allow. And then I feel another rush of energy and I'm back in my body, taking a gulp of air, retaining the sensation, and also immediately knowing we are all cosmic consciousness condensed into form. Just
Okay.
aware.
So I have to stop right there. This is in what, 1980s? Is this
75.
75? How, and I have to say, I grew up with a lot of esoteric and ethereal and, all astrology and all that, as I explained. How did you know what was going on? Had you been studying this kind of thing, or was it just a knowing in
It
your
was just a
soul?
knowing. It was the inner recesses of my being that connected with my higher self in that way, as I came to realize that later,
Right.
right?
But I find it amazing that you had that self-awareness at that time period.
It is
Um,
kind of rare, isn't it?
yeah, because when I think about it, that's 20, 50 years ago almost.
I was 18.
Yeah,
What a
50.
rite of passage.
Yeah, it was like your 18th graduation there.
Mhm.
Welcome. So,
Well, first
okay.
initiation. And what I found afterwards, I dove into all the literature that I could find, ancient texts and modern texts, is okay, how can I corroborate this somehow? Right? And just to validate the experience. And what I found was in the Vedas,
Mhm.
which basically say that we're all divine threads connected to source, capable of God consciousness. Now, what does that mean? That means we're capable of creating our reality.
Wow. So that's huge right there, because I feel like that's a very different mindset than was in the world at that time. So,
Still is.
yeah, and I gotta
I mean,
say,
there's an opening. There's the listening has and curiosity has increased based on the law of attraction and all the, those kinds of things that have come out over the last couple of decades.
right, but I just find that very phenomenal that you had that wherewithal at that age. Like I told you in our pre-conversation, I grew up with a lot of this stuff. But I understand. And when different experiences happen, I understand. But most people didn't have that benefit. So
Mhm.
that's a real
But I was a rambunctious
knowing.
kid too.
Right.
I was very mischievous. My dad was a 32nd degree Mason and tool and die maker. And so I had that background. I ended up being, I went into DMLA as a teenager. I was a master counselor for our local chapter at 15. So I got a taste of the Masonic world there, which was rich in service,
Hmm.
right? I see a lot of the nonsense on the web about Masons today. And I was like, you guys really don't know squat about what it really means to be a Mason.
Yeah, I'd say I find that could be a whole different talk. I would love to know more about what, because I've done a lot of research because of what's been in my
I
family
just grew
line.
up with the 32nd degree, which says 1 degree shy of a 33rd, which he would have had his own lodge
Master.
at that
Yeah,
point. Um,
that's incredible.
but to grow up
Um,
with those kinds of values and ethics and morals that are impeccable really seeded my life with the foundation that I still hold sacred today.
and I love that because people often think, oh, well, if I would have had this situation or I would have had that situation, it would have worked out easier or better. But when we look back, many times, not more than many times, we're all exactly where we needed to
Oh,
be
yeah.
to
Well,
get
we
to
don't
the
know how to
goal.
harvest our past, right? We generally drag it along with it as baggage,
Right, right.
as opposed to harvesting, gleaning, the essence, the truth, the golden nuggets of growth that came from it, and not wallowing in the despair of regret.
Right, right. Finding what was the message, what was the value in that time, what did I learn? So
Right.
that's huge. I also just got to say thank you. I'm just going to say thank you as a forefront leader in this mission, because without people like you that were willing to say these things and to bring the science aspects and the religious aspects in,
Gotta
because
have it. The two
you
have.
have all three.
Thank you.
And so thank you for being able to express that. And obviously with your podcast and with your books, because this is what my station is all about, normalizing this. I think part of the reason that people are so disconnected from source and from their own power is because it's been hidden and not
Yeah.
talked
Yeah.
about. And so you had to have a lot of guts, or just like a devil don't care
I didn't
attitude
know any
this
better,
time. Yeah,
right? This
right,
is just
right.
the way things were for me, so I
The
acquiesced to what
innocence,
was or what
the,
is. I
the
mean, it
innocence of
made
youth.
sense. That's how I think that came about.
But
I had a good friend.
beautiful.
I have a good friend named Steve Behrman, who masquerades as Swami Beyondananda, and you may be familiar with the name. Um, I love how he says, we're in process of reformatting our heart drive
Oh yeah,
with an upwising.
yes. So the heart is the key. The heart is the key for all of it. We're
I would say the gut is the key. And the
no,
reason I'm
yeah,
saying
that's
that is because of the indigenous philosophy of the three brains, the heart or the gut, the heart, and the head, right? This is how we process information. We generally process, from the head down and shove it into our bodies and wonder why we're diseased.
yeah, yeah.
And yet at the same time, we know now from quantum physics, everything's energy. Well, how
Everything's
do we connect
energy.
with that energy? There's as many more neurosensors in the gut than there are in the brain.
I agree wholeheartedly, but we need that heart piece to connect the two,
Well, let me
right?
explain how that
Okay.
works, right?
Okay.
So you're connected to everything through the vibration. You cannot think your way through a system built on vibration. You have to sense your way through it. Well, that sensory capacity is built into us. We've just been ignoring it. So the gut, intuition, all of those things is real. So what happens is, as we're perceiving, depending on our level of perspective that's available, because the perception is determined by your perspective, not the other
Correct.
way around. And so in that, we feel the energy, then we determine it. This is where the Taoist philosophy of it's desirable or it's undesirable. That's the heart. Does it resonate with the good, with the beneficial side of life? Or is it, not sure, I kind of don't want to go down this way. So pardon me. So there's where you make that differentiation. And then we use the brain, which is a computer for
Mm-hmm.
decision making
Mm-hmm.
and determining what to do as a project manager of our body, life, everything,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's what the brain is. We just have to feed it correctly. It's stinking thinking, you're going to get stinking results. If you've got clear thinking, or even from a place of just being an observer, which is
Mm-hmm.
the hardest to do, then you can see the clarity of where you need to go, because it will emerge. You will
Absolutely.
feel the direction that you need to go, the choices you need to make, the actions, all of those things. Now, it's going to be for those who aren't able to do that, or haven't been able to do that because they've been stuck in the outer world and the obsession on,
Mm-hmm.
making meeting those demands. That's only half the equation. We're bereft of the inner experience and the sharing of it. And that's what you and I are talking about,
Mm-hmm.
and has been, less than listened to for quite some time. And
Absolutely.
in that, this is what One World and the New World's about, because we explore the depth of the interconnection that my guests have, and how it made a difference in their lives and their professions as a result. So
Mm-hmm.
this theory, this understanding's been around since the Vedas 15,000 years ago. So we got the memo. It's
Right.
just taken us a while to understand how simple it really is, and that we are
And
gods and goddesses in embryo.
and I love that piece right there. I think that's really what needs to be stressed to everybody listening, is how simple it is. How simple it is when we stop trying to control, and we feel, and we connect. To me, it's as simple as that, but it can be very hard to get there, right?
Well, it's like, again, the obsession on the outer world, and trying to meet its demands, we become very codependent. And we've had a very
Absolutely.
codependent society in America. Well, why is that? Because we're trying to meet everybody else's needs, and we've forgotten the aspect of what's called self-love.
Right, because it's not selfish.
It's the opposite. It's selfishly selfless,
Right.
is what it is. Law 1 talks about, there's two ways you can go: service to self, service to others. Well, yes, and how do those merge? The ultimate
Yeah.
service to self is service to others.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that. Absolutely. There was a piece in there. Oh, when we were talking about the heart, one
Mhm.
of the things that I want to stress that was a big turning point for me spiritually, and really embodying this work, was the fact that as a society, as you said, we're taught to look outward, right? We look outward for approval, for companionship,
Listen to
for
the
direction,
experts.
listen to the experts. And the biggest part of my journey was learning to turn inward,
Mhm.
and to connect with my heart, and to connect with source, and to really stop looking for external
Right.
validation.
Well, and as you mentioned, these are generally states of trauma
Yeah,
that we're put into, where we don't know what we don't know, and we're bereft of help, being able to help ourselves. So we get out of our own way, and we ask
yes,
whatever it is we
yes.
believe to be the all-seeing, all-knowing, infinite intelligence
Mm-hmm,
to help.
mm-hmm,
Well, that's really us, because as in the Vedas, we're talking about that divine thread that we have, the silver cord that people talk
mm-hmm.
about with OBEs, and being able to see that, because you never, get disconnected. You're always connected, even out of body. Those kinds of things, that's a direct connect to the specific line of infinite intelligence designed for you.
Oh, absolutely.
That in turn becomes a divine thread in the tapestry of life, that when we acquiesce to, we find our perfected form, fit, and function in the world.
Absolutely. And, as you know, and I know, when a gift like that is shared, it's multiplied. When two
It
are coming,
ripples.
yeah, and two are coming together with the same message, with the same gift, whatever of that nature, that's multiplied. And that's what it's about, right? Sharing our
Empowering one
messages.
another. The New World Order that I was told about, I knew intrinsically, that sounds, that's got a lot of that's got a huge charge along with it in how people listen to those three simple words.
Well,
Now,
there's
for
a
something to
vibration.
truly be new, you're not putting a facade on an old system and calling it new. That's just a lie. And we all know that. So what's new? What's new is what is emerging in every moment. So this emergence is coming from the depths of our being. It's that frequency that ignites our genetic codes that unlock our gifts and our experiences and all the things that we are intended to have and yet haven't chosen to yet.
Because of, he said the magic word, frequency.
That's
It's all about frequency and vibration. I mean, it's not all, that's not the only part, but that's such a huge part
well, at the
of
macro
us.
level, that's what manages everything. We determine, that's how you know truth. You feel it, right? It resonates in every ounce of your being, whether you understand it or not. It's a knowing that you have,
Absolutely.
unquestionable. It's like that peace that surpasseth understanding.
Ooh, I love that. I love that feeling. It doesn't have to be understood. It just has to be
It's
felt,
experience.
experienced. Yeah. And I think too, that's probably been some of the disconnect in society, is finding the verbiage to properly express all of these things.
Oh,
And that's
yeah.
where I said,
Well, you
thank
notice
you.
the changes in the last few years, especially, right? All the emotional intelligence now it's hit the front. It used to be called interpersonal skills back when I was in the aerospace industry in the 80s, right?
Mhm,
Now it's
mhm.
emotional intelligence and is at the forefront. Empathy, understanding, servant leadership, all of those kinds of things are leading to this reorganization. And COVID was such a blessing. There's a silver lining in it,
Mhm.
in that during, and I said this to my wife when we went on lockdown, I said, I really hope people will turn that obsession on self-hygiene and sequestration into self-examination.
Oh
Because who you got
yeah.
to talk to when you're by yourself? You're either going to binge watch and distract yourself through not wanting to deal with things, and that's a fear-based activity, or you're going to look at what's happening and go, okay, now wait a minute, what's really real here? What's going on? And who am I? How do I want to live? What do I really believe in? What am I willing to die for as well as live for?
Absolutely.
And then how do I make the changes in my life to embody that? Well, you know, for a long time we were sequestrated, right? Nobody could talk to each other. Now, I got to say, my wife and I never listened to anything. We did not change our activities one bit
Mhm,
throughout the whole period. And both of our businesses grew as a result. She's a
mhm.
piano teacher, I'm a life coach. So those kinds of things were evidence of, okay, this is you didn't succumb to the narrative, and here's your gift for not doing so. That was a direct reflection of
Mhm.
that reward,
You
if you
stayed
will.
true to your mission and to what
Exactly.
you believed in. Is
So then several months later, these virtual groups start coming up online and of people looking for themselves for themselves, right?
Mhm,
Their mirrors and others, and what we can do together collectively to shift or reimagine what humanity has been up to into something that actually works for everybody. We're one world, we're one family, we're one people, one planet. It's about time we recognize that. Even Putin brought this up in his conversation with Tucker Carlson. It was exquisite in the way that he
mhm.
said it from a world citizen perspective that I don't know anybody heard. And when he said it, both my wife and I were watching. We
I
just like,
watched it. Yeah,
yes, right?
yeah.
Because here's a man that has been mislabeled extremely by propaganda, simply to make him a fictitious enemy that we can then spend money on trying to defeat and
Mhm.
feed the coffers of those who
No,
live off death and fear.
I did find the interview quite interesting. I thought, and that was another thing during COVID. I would watch a lot of stuff and then I would see how the news was reporting it with that fear intention, and I was like, oh my goodness. And it got to a point where I had to tell my husband, I was like, turn it off, we can't have that going. Let's put some music on, kind of thing.
Right.
And so we did do that. I
Where
want to,
you put your attention, your intention, and your interaction
yeah.
toward is what will manifest. Well, what do you want? Do you want to love and be loved? Then
Mhm.
put your attention toward that.
Yeah. And it is really true. And people are starting to realize that. But where we focus and the intentions are so huge because that is the vibration, that is the message we're sending out to the universe.
Right.
So I used to think I could just really predict bad things happening all the time. But I know I was reinforcing those messages with my
And
fear going up
sometimes
there.
psychic abilities that
Well,
we
yeah,
that we're perceived to have are simply because we have pattern recognition. We can see how things will play out based on what we know about patterns and rhythms and cycles and how they work.
absolutely. I wanted to ask a little bit about your coaching business. So you are a transformational coach,
I am.
and what is your message for those that are looking for a coach? Like, what is your special thing that you give them?
I unlock their doors to their higher self and their true purpose and or their ability to perform at peak in the environments that they're in by changing how they think and feel and process information, as well as developing action plans to take those baby steps towards their dreams and goals.
Great, great. I
So
love
when you
that.
understand, I come out of originally in the aerospace industry. I've been in education, theater, large events, all that. So I know the processes of manifestation across a number of industries and personal realms that I've been able to work in. Because as transformational coach, if I don't live it, how good could I possibly be?
Right, right.
Right? If I
Understood.
don't
Yep.
live it by example and can look at now, I'm not doing that to be self-aggrandizing. I'm doing that to provide evidence that, okay, what I know to be true is based on my experience.
Well, and
And
that is
beyond
how
all the books,
many
the
of us.
teachers, and anything, it's the experience that gives you the insight and wisdom.
Absolutely, because many people can tell you what they've read, how they've been told, but it's different. It's different when you've lived it, because not only do you know the logical steps, but you understand the mental parts of it. You
And the
understand the
emotional.
feeling, right? The
Yeah.
emotional part. Because that's, as humans, that's one of our biggest gifts and our biggest curses.
Well, sure. Well, think about it energetically, right? When you go into a situation and you're uncomfortable, you feel disconnected, you feel constricted, you're going to be tight. Your energy is going to be condensed and it's not going to be available.
Absolutely. When you are constricted, also
Right.
nothing can get
You're
in
the
because you're
bottleneck to your own flow, and that, and if you want to
right.
understand flow, read the Goal by Eliyahu Goldratt.
Mhm,
That explains how to remove bottlenecks in your facilities in
mhm.
manufacturing and things of that nature. Well, the same thing happens internally. When you're in that state, you can't flow. When you are able and willing to simply let go and come from a place of anticipation rather than anxiety, that gut feeling that you get, right?
Yes.
It's a quivering when you're going into something that's unknown, you're unsure, you don't know what's going to happen because you don't know what you don't know. What you do know is your own being,
Mhm.
right? And so you can connect with that, empty to yourself, ask the questions of how can I best serve in this moment. And there's a practice, there's a discipline
Mhm.
that's developed in order to do that on a regular basis. Because sometimes your mind, we have 70,000 thoughts a day, 2/3 of them are self deprecating. So you're going to talk yourself out of doing what you think you ought to be doing right. Right.
Right. Oh,
That's our
absolutely.
nature.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
What? what would you say for someone that's newly on their journey? What's the best first steps?
Realize you're not alone, right? We tend to feel like we're alone,
Mhm.
and we're not. We're embraced by everything around us. That's that constriction again, where you go into your closet and you hide. We'll go
Mhm.
into your closet and pray
Mhm.
instead, right? And then once that, you have that prayer of asking for guidance, just understand that, open your eyes up and move forward and look at what's right in front of you to do
Mhm.
or to engage, and then do it to the best of your ability. You'll know whether it's your best or not because you're the one who knows,
Right.
right? That's self honesty, self examination. That's one
Mhm.
of the things I love about Carlson. I saw him on Lex Fridman, and he openly self examines as he's talking about something. And I
Mhm.
think that's just wonderful to see that kind of activity going on with someone that's just a natural part of his life and being,
And
right?
I
If we could,
think that's right. That's a gift, right? Just to be able
absolutely.
to, because most of us have to wait till after the fact and come back and then self-analyze. So be able to self-evaluate like that in the moment.
On the fly in the moment.
Yeah, yeah, that's
And
beautiful.
we all do
Yep.
that already. It's just so many layers
Mhm.
beneath the focus of our consciousness in that moment. It's more of an unconscious activity, that inner voice, the inner dialogue, the one that's tends to be self-deprecating because it's going to tell you what you're doing wrong. Well,
Mhm.
listen to that. Don't, embrace it. Don't deny any of the thoughts or feelings that come up in you.
No.
Embrace them all because they're important in the moment. If you deny them, they're going to come back and they're going to cause harm.
Yep. So that is beautiful starting point for people. Now, we're running out of time, not running out of time. We could talk all day. We're not
Time's
running out of
valuable.
words,
Okay.
right? But I just wanted to touch base back to your big mission and how people could get on board with that. And the big mission is harmony with people on the planet.
Harmony among people and
Among.
planet is how I've termed it. It
Perfect.
is that um, universal law and order in play within each of us, because we all know how to get along. We all are connected. We all have that divine thread that goes into the tapestry of the world that we're recreating now to become a new normal that we can be proud of and works for everybody rather than just a few.
Yes. So how does somebody get involved in this?
Well,
Um,
first of all, there's planetarycitizens.net. We're in process of revamping the website. There is a Planetary Citizens Pledge that you can take
okay.
and just, supply your email and your name, and you'll be part of our list as that will continue to be informed as we grow. There's also, being a nonprofit, a 509(a)(2) status, which means we're a public charity and we can also generate income in the activities that we're doing. So that gives us um, a double-edged sword, if you will.
Yeah.
Um, so you can make donations there, but as well to help us move forward. This has been almost a 50-year
I was gonna
process.
say it's a life mission for you. And I'm just so excited to even be able to help get the word out for this. You
Well,
know,
and we're ready now. 2020. I love I heard a phrase, soar in 24. And that's what we're doing. And we
Ooh,
all are doing that. It's not just me. There are countless numbers of others that I know and am associated with, some loosely, some not so. And everybody is just taking this huge step up. And it's
yeah.
supported by everybody else.
And here's my question. If not now, when?
Exactly. If not me, who? Why
Ooh,
not? Right?
right.
You ask why? Why not? Just,
Why not?
you're when you intend to do the best and serve in ways that you can, sure, you're an imperfect human. We all are. we're going to make mistakes. Then we're going to think we make mistakes, right? This whole consciousness of beating ourselves up because we think we make a mistake is ridiculous. Just realize that you made an effort, you didn't have all the information you needed, and it's all practice, right? This is just a
And
practice
some of
day to
it
day.
was the best that you could do with the tools that you had at the time. We make
Absolutely.
mistakes because we're
That's a
unhealed.
perfect way to say it.
Yeah, yeah. My mom likes to tell me that. I did the best I could with what I had.
Moms are great, aren't they?
Moms are great. I love my mom. All right. So
So that's about planetary citizens. My coaching site, I love, yeah, and you're going to
yes,
love
go ahead.
my coaching business, which I registered in 1988.
Ooh,
It's bethedream.com.
love that.
My
That's sweet.
podcast is on YouTube. It's One World in a New World. So my original TV show back in the 90s was called One World. So One World in a New World has the 30 years of insight and expertise that
I love that. It's
maybe
all
garners a
packed
little
in
more
there.
wisdom.
It sounds very
Right.
juicy.
It is.
Mhm.
And the efforts that we make are just the conversations we have are amazing. One of the things that um, really edified me, gave me an indication that, okay, maybe I'm ready, was in 1990 when I started One World. I wanted to emulate two gentlemen that I thought I had really high regard for in their interviewing capability. Bill Moyers,
Mhm.
who did the Joseph Campbell Power of Myth series, as well as a bunch of other stuff, and Dr. Jeffrey Mishlev, who had a show on PBS for 20 some odd years called Thinking Aloud. And I hoped someday to be worthy of an interview with one of them. 28 years later, June of 2018, I get a voicemail from a Ufology Press website that I manage, and it's Jeffrey. I recognize his voice. My heart starts beating rapidly as I'm hearing it. And he says, he just did an interview with Jason Giordani on the Grays, and he thought my audience would enjoy it. Could I please help promote it? And I'm like, yeah, sure. So I went and listened to it, made a post, sent him the link along with a PDF copy of my big book, which is called Stubbing My Toe on Purpose, subtitled A Seminal View of Consciousness, Cosmology, and the Congruence of Science and Spirituality. So I sent that to him, not knowing what was going to happen. I figured, why not?
Why not?
3 days later, I get an email back. Hey, would you like to come talk about it? So in August, we did not one, we did 3 conversations. And the first one was called A New World Order.
Lovely.
So we talk about all the frequency, integration, and really looking at this old phrase in a very new way, and what it really means, and how we can at least be open to moving that direction. Now, this is the first time that I've been asked the questions like him in 45 years.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just exquisite, and yet at the same time gave me that inner credibility that I was lacking for myself.
Well, and even beyond that, I think there's 2 really cool things in that story. And there's more than 2, but you said before we even told that story, why not? Right. And so when he reached out to you, you thought, why not? And the
Exactly.
other thing I want to point out to people is you don't give up on a dream just because it hasn't materialized yet. This was a dream he had for 28 years. And what if at the 25th year he said, screw that guy? If he calls me, I've been waiting 25 years, I ain't taking his call. But no.
That's an opportunistic moment like no other. And one of the things, as I mentioned earlier, that I was told in that initial experience, everything would be there at its appointed time. So that's not my timeline.
Okay. I think that is our best spot to end, because I'm going to say all things come at the right time, and it's not our human time. And so I hope that if this podcast is finding you today, that there's something in here that really inspires you. There's something in here that ignites some sort of passion in you to have the faith to move forward. When we talk about
Faith, love, and trust. That's the Trinity, right?
right. And so I feel that this podcast can inspire others at the time that they need it. So we're
Absolutely.
planting that seed right in here that this podcast hits you at the right time and that it helps you in some way, shape, or
And I'll agree with you. So that's two or more, and so shall it be.
ooh, I love that. So our time together has come to an end. You could tell Zen and I could talk and talk together for a few days. We won't today, but hopefully we'll have a chance to talk
We're just,
again in the
it
future.
seems like ancient ones. We've known each other for so long. We've just reconnected for a short conversation that will seed the thoughtmosphere for more greatness to occur.
I have goosebumps at that one. So thank you so much for tuning in today, everybody. I'm going to have all Zen's links down below and in the copy and all over the place in the posting so that you can reach out to him directly if you want to talk to him, if you want to join up at the website, if you want to check out his coaching, read a book, go have fun. I have given you a new rabbit hole to climb into and spend a few weeks in there, right? Thank you so much for your time and sharing your
My
story.
pleasure.
And
Namaste and in la catch, as I like to
mm,
open and close my shows with.
thank you. Thank you. So, bye, everybody. We will talk to you soon. Have a great day.